I've been a digital nomad for the last 8 years of my life. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the top 10 things that I've learned as a digital nomad, traveling the entire world and living in over 15 countries, visiting 25 countries. So stay tuned in. I'm gonna break down the lessons that I've learned over the last 8 years. If you're a rookie nomad, intermediate nomad, if you're somebody who's been traveling for a little bit, this video is for you because I'm going to share a lot of insights that are going to save you a lot of time and also give you an idea on how to base your journey as a digital nomad. And I'm sharing this video because I wish somebody would have shared this video with me before I became a digital nomad. Before I was a digital nomad, I was in Austin, Texas. I was selling real estate, making a really good living, having those golden handcuffs because I had a really good job that I couldn't leave because I would lose out on that money. So I was really scared to leave Austin, Texas because I was quote unquote successful. But I personally had this burning desire to really go out into the world and just explore and see what things were like. So if you can resonate with any of that, I'm here to help you out with some nice tips. So let's go ahead and get started with number 10. Number 10 is pack as light as possible. That's right. I've lived out of a carry-on suitcase. I've lived out of a check suitcase. Right now, I'm kind of at this weird point where I have a bunch of shoes with me, as you can see over there, as I do walking shoe reviews for Nike shoes, for the most comfortable walking shoes. So right now, I am probably the heaviest I've ever been in my 8 years. I have a checked suitcase, I have a carry-on suitcase, and then I have a personal item that I rock. So for me, I travel with about 10 to 12 pairs of shoes, sometimes 14 if I buy something kind of on there. And then I, of course, got my suits with me. So I'm at the heaviest I've ever been. And I'm very intentional. So like right now, that's because I'm going to be in a place long term. I'll take that one trip with that stuff. But if I'm going to be, pretty light on my feet, like here in about a month or so, I'm going to be in Mexico in about 3 different cities, maybe 4. I'm just rolling with the carry-on suitcase and I'm just making it as light as possible. So my number 10 tip is pack as light as possible. You don't need those supplements from Amazon. You can buy supplements wherever you go. You don't need those things that you think you need. You probably need a lot less. But you are the person who can best decide that. So as you're packing, really think to yourself, do I really need this? Is this something that I actually need to do? So I've got a special way to pack. If you haven't checked out my packing video, make sure you check that out. As a digital nomad, you really want to maximize and optimize your space while also not being fined for being overweight. So that's my number 10 is pack as light as possible. My number 9 tip is take advantage of low-cost medical care. Now, as you start to get older, when I started my digital nomad journey, I was 27 years old. I'm now 36. I'm naturally, gracefully aging into my late 30s, early 40s here in a couple years. And one thing that's been very important to me, especially the last couple of years, is my health. As I was a former amateur athlete. I was an amateur boxer for a year, and I've been an athlete all in high school, and I've always been rather athletic, sports, that kind of stuff. So for me, as I've gotten older, my body's kind of worn down just a little bit, and I've had some medical issues come up, and those medical issues in America would be very expensive, extremely expensive to manage or even get taken care of. Overseas, it's actually really easy to get health care. I've never had insurance overseas, and when I go to an emergency room, it's like 15 to 30 bucks depending on where I am. You can easily go to any pharmacy and get 99% of medications without a prescription. Even if you need a prescription, you just kind of like sweet talk the person and say, oh, I really need it. Really take advantage of the healthcare overseas. You can have your specialist that you go see. Those people might cost about 20 to 30 bucks to see specialists. Like a cardiologist. I went to see a cardiologist for a little bit, and every time I saw them, it was like 20 bucks to go see them. That's extremely affordable. Your copay in America isn't even 20 bucks. So as you're traveling, put it into your schedule whether it's once a month, once a week, whatever you feel is necessary. Start to work with these medical professionals, and not just medical professionals, there's also wellness, massages, chiropractors. These people are going to keep you in tip-top shape, and I'm telling you, from somebody who's coming in their, the last year of their mid 30s. When I started this journey in my late 20s, I didn't think this was going to be a big deal for me. And it is. It's a really big deal. Your health is your wealth. So make sure when you're finding your path as a digital nomad, incorporate healthcare and wellness, because it's insanely affordable to you. So that's my number 9 tip. My number 8 tip is for my social folks out there. You want to make sure that you get a core group of friends. Not a lot of friends. In the nomad space, you're going to have a lot of like surface level friends, like, oh yeah, check you later. Oh, those people are more like acquaintances. So those people are more like acquaintances. Make sure that whenever you're out and about, you are really true to like what's important to you. What do you value in a friend? Why do you value that? What kind of communication styles? So get really clear on what a friend looks like. And you probably have some really good friends that are in your home country. Invite them out. I now, when I'm in one of my home bases, I make sure I get a 2-bedroom or more, because I always invite friends and family to come stay with me. Having those kinds of bonds is a very important experience. It's a very special experience, especially when you get to be the host and you get to introduce them to new cultures. You make them feel safe. In fact, in about maybe like an hour, I have one of my really good friends coming down to see me here, and it's our first international trip. Shout out to Diallo if you're watching this. He's coming out and seeing me. It's one of my best friends in the entire world. So later on this year, I have my best friend. I'm going to be the best man at his wedding. Like, he's coming out to Colombia to come see me where I'm filming this right now, which is one of my home bases. It's just a really cool thing. Now, I've got plenty of acquaintances and people that are cool, people you have a cigar with, a beer with, and maybe those might develop into relationships. But give it a chance. Go out, meet people. There's lots of nomad events, but just because you meet somebody who is a nomad, man, and most nomads are real shady. They're kind of broke, and so broke people are in survival mode. So you're dealing with a bunch of people like that who are just trying to figure things out, who are leaving their countries. Some people are running away from things, whether it's commitment, maybe they're Peter Pan syndrome, whatever they have going on. Most people are running away from something, not all, but most, and nomads typically aren't the most stable type of friends to have, whether it's emotional, financial, or spiritual, or even just like location based. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how they are, that's how we are, but be aware of that as you step into the nomad space. So my 8th piece of advice after 8 years of traveling full time is going to be find a core group of friends. And you might already have them in your countries, and just say, hey, I'm going to be doing this travel thing. When I get it all figured out, I'd love to invite you out. And then just stay in contact with those people, because those memories, they're gonna stay with you. Even if you see them maybe once every 18 months. I see my best friend maybe once every 2 years. 18 months, maybe every year, every other year, something like that. So, really get that core group of friends, because if you're actually lonely in a new country, just pick up the phone and FaceTime them. You're like, what's up? How's it going? And just talk to somebody. So especially for you guys out there, if you guys, it's really weird for guys to talk about like feelings and friendships and that kind of stuff. You don't need to go through that. Go out, make some cool friends, get the right friends, the right group in your peeps, and then really just, focus on your craft, focus on your business, focus on your health, but also get that social aspect with the right people. If you see a bunch of nomads who are like doing shady stuff and doing drugs and partying all the time, they're probably cool to hang out with every now and then, maybe, if you're into that stuff, but you probably want to stay away from them and find people who are into what you're into. And if you're into that stuff, cool, go hang out with those people. I was in the party scene for 14 years of my life, totally done with that, and I'm in a different phase of my life. So you would know what you're looking for. So let's move on to the next tip for you. That would be number 7, which is identify airport hubs. Man, I wish I would have figured this out in my, first, second, third, and fourth year as a nomad. So, shocker, there is a bunch of hubs around the world where flights are just really inexpensive to go to, very low cost flights. So, for example, Cancun is one of Mexico, and that area is one of my home bases for a couple of weeks a year. So the Cancun airport and the Tulum airport here in a couple of weeks, once it opens up, that airport has a lot of connections to a lot of places. It has a connection to my hometown of Dallas-Fort Worth. So if you're in the Cancun airport or if you're in the Dallas airport, I'm probably going to be going to Cancun or vice versa, because that's one of the hubs. Also, here in Medellin, Colombia, there's really affordable flights with Avianca from Medellin to Madrid. And Madrid has a lot of really cool connections to a bunch of different places all over the world. And Amsterdam actually has a lot of places, a lot of hubs to go to places I want to go to. So it's really important to identify what those hubs are, and just the only way you're going to figure that out is number one, go on Google Flights and just search flights, see what you see, and look out a couple months and say, oh, I'm seeing patterns here. And as you start to develop your nomad migration pattern, you're going to be able to identify, okay, I'm seeing, easy ways for me to get home. Your home might be Washington or Miami or New York, wherever your home is. Figure what those home bases are and take advantage of those, because it's going to make your life a lot easier, and you're going to save a lot of money, and most importantly, you're going to save a lot of time. You get to fly direct. You don't have to worry about layovers and my luggage getting lost and all those things. And I'm telling you from experience, when you're at an airport and your luggage gets lost on a 45-minute transfer, you don't know the gates, you can't read the language, you don't know where your bags are, it's really annoying. You lose your luggage, and then they take like a couple of days to flag you down and find your stuff. Very annoying, and don't deal with that. Just deal with one nonstop flight and identify the hubs for your migration pattern. So now going on to number 6, that's work with locals. Stop paying expat prices. The most beautiful thing of being a digital nomad is actually the cost savings of your lifestyle. Now, when you go to a nomad hotspot, there's typically going to be the gringo area or the expat area. This is places where you have a lot of people who are from good old America or the UK or Australia, mate, all these different places. And what are they doing? They're driving up prices. They're driving up prices. They're driving up prices. That's what they're actually doing. If you actually venture out of that expat bubble and you start to work with locals, local real estate agents, local handymen, even local tailors, local dry cleaners, local companies like that, you're going to save a lot of money, and you're also going to build connections with very, very well-to-do and interesting people in those countries. So I've been traveling now for the last 8 years, and because I've taken this route of going outside of the expat areas, I'm able to have a worldwide network where I can get anything that I need at any time in almost any country that I'm considering putting into my home base list. So work with locals. You're going to have a better experience. You're going to have access to better prices and even better quality. One of the biggest things is buy low and sell high. So you buy low quality products, you go to the expats and you sell it to them high, and they don't know the difference, and there's a whole different world out there. So my number 6 top tip in my 8 years of traveling all over the world, that's Latin America, South America, North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. 5 continents. I've lived there, lived on 5 continents. And I'm telling you, when you work with locals, your life is going to be a lot easier. Get out of the expat areas, include it into your repertoire, but make sure you work with locals, because you're going to have so many opportunities unfold for you. So now let's go to number 5. This one is something that I really transitioned to in probably my 6th year of being a nomad, and that's see your family. My parents are older now. They just got into their 60s. My mom just retired. My dad just retired. Congratulations to both of them. They work really hard. They deserve it. I'm actually trying to get them to move out of the United States. That's why I make these videos, so they can watch these. And if you're watching, hi mom, hi dad. And even my brothers and my sisters, I have 10 brothers and sisters. So what's going on, hermanos? What's going on, hermanas? I make these videos so secretly they can watch it and be like, yeah, this Frank guy, he's right. It is more affordable to live in these places. So with that being said, I'm in the States less than 35 days a year, typically 6 to 10 days a year now, for tax purposes. If you haven't seen my tax video on that, make sure you check that out. But even so, you only get one family, and you got to go see them. So my parents are in their 60s. Realistically, they might live to be like 90. My grandma's 90 right now. Maybe they live to be 100. But that being said, I've only got a finite amount of time left with them. So I want to make sure that I can, go back and spend holidays. So I used to only do either Thanksgiving or Christmas. But now I do Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's a non-negotiable for me. I've just made that choice as a man, as a digital nomad, to say, you know what, I'm going to see my folks Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'm going to be there, and then I probably might sprinkle in a couple of visits here and there, just because it's been very important for me, and I want to really appreciate this time that I have with them. And so going back to home to see your family, do it. Whatever is going on, just do it. I've whatever you got going on in your life, man, with your parents, with your folks, with your family, just do it. You only get one family. So incorporate that into your digital nomad lifestyle, because you're going to feel refreshed when you come back. You're going to say, yep, for me, I always appreciate coming back home because I always feel very humbled. I always feel, part of a tribe. And it's just really cool to see how people are the same, but also different. So go back home. You gotta include it. It's going to be amazing for so many reasons. Go do it. Go see your mom. You only get one mom. You only get one dad. Go see them. So the fourth tip that I have for you after my 8 years of traveling the world is going to be go on adventures. There's so many things to do that are unique that you want to be on your deathbed and just say, I did that. Like there's a version of you that's on their deathbed that was a wuss, that was a punk, that didn't do X, whatever that is. Maybe it's even the nomad lifestyle. What if you never did the nomad lifestyle? What if you're not a nomad now and you want to be a nomad and you're watching me and people like me talk about being a nomad, but you never do it? There's a version of you who never does that and is going to regret that on their deathbed. Whoa, a little heavy, huh? Let's take it back a little lighthearted. So imagine on the flip side, if you did act on your nomad impulses and you decided to have all these fun adventures, like what would your deathbed be like? I had to journal because I forget all the things that I do. A lot of the reasons I make these videos is because I document like stuff that I want to look at my deathbed. I want to be on my deathbed watching this video and be like, hey, yeah, I remember that place in Medellin. I remember getting this suit in Turkey and running around, and I couldn't pay the guy, so I told him I was going to send him a Western Union, and then it didn't go through. So then I had to wait till I took 3 flights to go back to America to pick up my debit card because I lost my debit card in Romania. And then I sent him the money, and he was like, "Woo!" Shout out to my boy in Turkey for selling me the suit on credit. I know I paid you back, and I appreciate that. But there's so many fun adventures that I've been on. And they weren't even like tourist stuff. It was just like an adventure. A lot of that starts with saying yes. A lot of that starts with making local friends and local contacts. And a lot of that just starts with getting out of your comfort zone and just really putting yourself out there. And you don't need friends to do things sometimes. Sometimes you just need to go out and explore things on your own. And that builds confidence in other parts of your life as well, especially in your career. And if you're an entrepreneur in your business. So go on adventures, make it happen, do the tourist stuff, but do the non-tourist stuff, and just like have regular, normal adventures. There's like, go have a street taco in Mexico City. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be 5-star, but just like have adventures. That's the whole purpose of the digital nomad lifestyle. If you're going to be out living this life, have adventures. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Actually, there's a lot of really bad things that could happen. So just be safe when you're in the nomad space, but go on adventures. And that leads me to, we're getting to the top 3 now. And these are things that I really wish that somebody would have told me when I became a digital nomad, not knowing anything what to expect. And I'm on my 8th year now. So if you are thinking about becoming a nomad, or you're a nomad now and you want to maximize your nomad experience, use this time to experiment. Really think about this. Use this time to experiment. And what does that mean? You've really got three phases, either your career or your business or both, and life. In those 3 aspects, experiment. So for example, in my business, man, I quit a 6-figure real estate job, a 6-figure real estate practice after being about 3 years in the game. It was just starting to get good, and I was like, you know what? I got to do something else. I don't want these golden handcuffs. I just want to figure something else out. And so because I travel the world and I have a lower cost of living than most people, that enables me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to have more runway. And so what is runway? It's whatever your monthly nut is, or your monthly expenses is, to be able to sustain your business. And me living outside of America, my runway goes a lot further. My money goes a lot further. So for example, in America, my business might cost me $7,000 a month to run. Overseas, I might only need like $800 to run my actual business. So I could do 1 month in America or 10 months overseas. You see what I'm talking about? It gives you more room to experiment. So with that, you can tweak your messaging, tweak your branding. You can take the difference and run ad campaigns. That's what I do. I do client acquisition through paid advertising. If you haven't seen my videos on paid advertising or marketing, make sure you check that out. I'm real deep into that space. If you're a fellow marketer, what's up? But yeah, use this time to experiment in your business or even in your career. If you have a job and maybe you want to just take some time to be a better speaker, be a better salesperson, be a better marketer, be a better coder, whatever your career is, it costs less to be a nomad than it is to be an American and living in America. If you're an American or equivalent, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canadian, and you live overseas, well, you have more money to put into the game, which means you can hire coaches, you can take courses, you can get certified, you can upskill yourself and be a better X, whatever that is for you. So I would encourage you to use this time as a nomad, because not everybody is a nomad for life. I've been a nomad for 8 years. You might only want to be a nomad for like 3 years and then go get married and have a white picket fence in Kansas or Denver or wherever you feel like being. Not for me. I, to this point, want to travel the world full time, start a family, and continue to travel for the rest of my life with multiple home bases. That's me personally. You might not be like that. Totally cool. That's the power of the nomad lifestyle, is you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, because you are a nomad. So the final thing you want to use this time to experiment in is going to be your life. I can't tell you how many times I've experimented on diets, facial hair. I grew my hair out a couple times, my style. There's a lot of opportunities for you as a person to be able to experiment, because you don't have your sister who's going to judge you, or your brother who's going to judge you, or your mom, or your uncle, or your dad, or your cousin who's going to judge you, or your childhood friend who knew you when you used to get beat up for your lunch money. You are now a brand new person. When you go to a country, it's an opportunity for you to rebrand, reinvent, and get to know yourself truly. Because a lot of you people, especially if you're not a nomad, you probably go to the same bars and you probably do the same things you do every week just because you've been doing it that way and you've got friends who do that and that's kind of your thing. Well, if you get outside of that routine, you're going to really find out, like, what do I like? Why do I like that? What am I actually interested in? What motivates me? What inspires me? What do I not want to put up with anymore? Once you become a nomad, you can use this time to really experiment yourself, and you can come to relationships much more clear about what you want, and that's business relationships, personal relationships, and all kinds of relationships. It's not really romantic. It could be friendships, business partners, whatever you're looking for. Use this time to experiment and figure out, like, what do you want? So that's my top 3 tip, is going to be use this time to experiment. So now we're getting into number 2. Number 2, man, we're getting there. So if you've been here this long, if you watch any of my content, you know that I talk a lot about hotspots, home bases. As a nomad, as you figure out your migration pattern as a digital nomad, you want to find your hotspots. Now, different strokes for different folks. You might like cold weather, you might like warm weather, you might like intermediate weather. Me personally, I don't like winter. I'm actually, one of the biggest reasons I'm a nomad is because I hate cold weather. I don't want to deal with cold weather. I've always hated cold weather, and I'm from Texas, so like the winters aren't that bad, especially compared to other parts of the world, but I don't like winters. And I was like, you know what? I never want to experience another winter again. In the last 8 years, I've had one jacket, and it was a really cool leather jacket, and it was like light, so it wasn't too heavy, but I've only had one jacket, and I've since given that away because I don't stay in places that have cold weather, because that's not what I want. That is not in my cards. That is not in my path. That is not what I'm looking for. So as a digital nomad, you really want to figure out your hotspots. And how do you figure out your hotspots? You go there. You figure out, do you like it? I would budget 1 to 3 weeks to start. And maybe your first couple of years, if you're serious about being a nomad and you really want to, put yourself out there, for your first couple of years, I would budget 6 to 9 months of just going to different countries and staying there for 1 to 3 weeks just to say, do I like it here? Why do I like it here? I've been to places like Budapest. My first time I was there, I was like, oh my God, I love this place. I was there in kind of like late fall, so it was a little chilly. And I was like, maybe I would love this place in the summer. I went there in June of last year. It was hot. I didn't like it. I was like, Budapest is no longer on my list of hotspots. I took it off. So I'm on a mission personally to have 12 to 15 different home bases on planet Earth. That's me. You could want to be, in 2 countries and call it a day. Whatever you want, that's the beauty of the nomad life. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. You don't got to answer to anybody except for yourself. And maybe if you decide to bring a partner or a family into this, that's something that you guys can have a discussion about. But for me personally, I'm living in 12 to 15 home bases on planet Earth. I'm planting roots there. I'm going deep into that community in that area. And that's how I choose to live my life. You can choose to live your life however you want. But at the end of the day, you're going to have hotspots. And your hotspots are going to say, okay, I like being here. And then ask yourself, when is the best time to be here? When do I want to be here? Why do I want to be here? So really understand what that is like for you. And then as you incorporate going home to see your friends, your family, making time for those lifelong adventures with your core group of people, you'll start to really identify, okay, these are my hotspots. And because these are my hotspots, this is my migration patterns. For me personally, I love European summers. Oh man. It's so bougie. I love it. I meet the most interesting people. I have the best times. I love European summers, but I hate winters. I would never be in Europe for the winter. So I just go someplace warm. So you could be totally different. Find your hotspots. That's my second tip. And if you stayed here to the number one top tip, this is going to be a gem for you. And most people have already logged off by now, but I saved the best for last. And that is, you don't have to be a broke nomad. You can actually be a rich nomad. You can even be a wealthy nomad. Did you know that as of right now in 2023, as a single person, filing single if you're married, this is double, but as a single person, your first $120,000 are 100% tax exempt. That's $10,000 a month, completely tax-free. If you live outside the United States, for 330 days out of the calendar year. So if you're in the United States, 35 days or less, you're good. You get $10,000 a month tax-free. If you're a business owner or if you're making good money, that's a really good cost savings. To give you an idea, if you made $120,000 in America, you'd probably have to pay $30,000 or $40,000 in taxes. I've been doing this for a long time, and the tax savings that I have been in the $250,000 I've saved just in taxes alone. My friends and family, when I go home every year, they're like, yep, I just paid this for my taxes. I just paid. I'm like, well, sucks to be you. I've saved over $250,000 in taxes, which means I can invest into different assets, into different properties, into different ventures. Some of them might work out, some of them might not, but I have that flexibility because I have the liquidity and because I have that opportunity. So you don't have to be a broke nomad. A lot of people, when they think of the nomad space, they think it's a downgrade. It's actually not a downgrade. It's a major upgrade, especially if your mindset is wired correctly. And if any of this resonates with you, make sure you check out my business channel. Make sure you check out my business videos, because it's really going to help you get into the mindset. If you feel compelled to work with me, reach out and we can discuss a plan for you as far as like your business and how to get that set up. I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to help you set up any of that kind of stuff, but I'm going to help you in your business. So that's the biggest takeaway I wanted you to take away from this is you don't have to be a broke nomad. You can start off a broke nomad. You can even act broke. You can make a lot of money and still act broke. Like I take the bus in Colombia where it's 75 cents twice a day to go to my gym. I could take a taxi and the taxi is like $4 each way, but I'd rather pay 75 bucks because $4 each way is $8 or $1.50. So that, what would that be? $6.50. I can actually put that towards my advertising budget. I do that every day or 5 days a week for the 5 days I go to the gym. I'm now, putting that amount of money into my advertising spend to attract more leads, which turns into more sales calls, which turns into more sales, which means more revenue, which means more money, which means more profit, which means more opportunity to invest without having to have the cost of living in America. You don't have to be a broke nomad. That isn't the only way to be a successful nomad. I really make these videos because I would like to see less broke nomads. You don't need to be broke. You can actually be rich and you could even be wealthy. Now there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but it's a mindset and it's all about how you leverage your resources. So I hope you found these top 10 tips that I've learned over my 8 years of being a digital nomad and living on 5 continents. That's been North America, South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Let me know what was your favorite tip, or if you have any tips of your own to share for your nomads. Let me know how long you've been a nomad, what's your favorite hotspot, and what tips you have. My name is Frank Salas. I go by the name The Talented Mr. Salas. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe. See you soon.